Thank you so much. So, as is the tradition, the first thing we're going to do is all our thank yous. And we have lots of thank yous.
you, and it was not my intention to perform, but these people bullied me. So I figured, let me just share a few poems with you very quickly. One of the best things about Ake is beyond, the connection and the writers and the fiery panels, it's also the food, right? That's it, don't chop it if we know if you talk again. Thank you. So I'm going to share like a few food poems with you very quickly. And this poem is called White Soup. So it's my favorite meal. My mother's kitchen is a revolving door of flavors. Roaming through corridors and backyards, slithering between burglary bars and window seals. Our dinners were invading streets, you could smell it from miles away. My favorite meal was white soup. She would fill her cooking pot with an estuary of mammals and mollusks, swimming in a delicate soup of spices thickened with pounded yam. Beneath the bubbling broth is a tempered flame. She says if it gets too high, it would split the stew. So we just watched it simmer. She never measured anything, but it always tasted perfect. My mother taught me that cooking like love was an instinct. It didn't need measuring. So when the food was ready, we would unbutton our clothes, roll up our sleeves, wash our hands and tuck our fingers in, suck purple meat from its shell, tear flesh off bone, slurp, wipe off sweaty brows, sniff, slow down, savor everything. You see, in our house, eating was a ritual, and anyone who walked through our doors got a taste of my mother's offering. After seconds and thirds, between gorged bellies and heavy breathing, she would say, "Dia ya wonkiwo, eat till it bleeds through your nose." And when we were done, drunk on the only love language my mother had ever known, we would roll from chair to carpet as our bodies contort in sleep. From my mother's kitchen, I have learned that you can never run out of love to eat. When I was a little girl, my mother would mix a bucket of dough into the night. Now, rising to twice the size of her forgotten dreams, she would squeeze each bowl into the searing heat, because this was what it took to put clothes on our backs and books in our bags. My mother would never let her children out with an empty stomach. I'm a woman now, and I know that I'm my mother's daughter, learning courage through her blistered hands, knowing fearlessness in the lines of her smiling face. Sometimes we barter in silence like people do secret handshakes. She recalls the woman who hawked the clothes off her back to keep me here, and I recall the little girl trapped between a shop floor and a tuition payment, too far away from home to know if I would ever make it. But somewhere between our silence and the humming generator, my mother whispers, "We made it." And so you must never discard the bones. Boil them till the marrow slips and melts on your tongue. Nothing about you is useless. Soften your hearts. You need to be tender enough to soak up the flavors, temper enough to mop up the juice. You mustn't be hard to swallow. Revel in your beauty. There is something about texture and tone that make for a gastronomic feast. You are stunning. Adorn your flesh like silk. Let it drape you, cascade over your shoulders, mold itself around your breasts, sliding down your thighs, hugging your calves, gently covering your feet, dripping on your toes. Hold your head up high and waltz like you are the belle at the ball. You are a feast for every eye. Take your time. You need to marinate, mold, and mature. A stew from your mother's clay pot was never made in a day. You needn't be rushed. Renew your spirits. Prayers are the tender embers that simmer to perfection. Blow lightly. You need not scream it. Here's your heart speak. Now take the first bite. Please yourself. Love yourself. Feed yourself. Forgive. Regrets will ruin the broth. Let go. Bitterness shares no room with exquisite flavors, but keep the leftovers. They make for worthwhile memories. And besides, there is always, always a lesson to learn. Thank you. You are too much, you're too much. And I know it's palm wine and poetry, but we have a little fiction, a little romance, a little erotica, that sort of thing. So I would like to invite Tomilola Adeyemo to the stage. Woo! Russia.
Clap for me now. Hello. Hi. All right. Yeah, like she said, this is not poetry, it's prose. I'm going to be reading an excerpt of my erotic thriller, Sugar Daddy Chronicles. Forgive me, this is my first time I'm reading anything I've done, so just in case I'm a little pacey, act like you're enjoying it. Thank you. The day I met you, you were at work as a babalawo, dressed in a pristine white buban shokoto, a white calabash filled with clean water in your hand. I was one of the 4 girls that Auntie Funke, our madam, had brought to you in your Aja mansion, the one with 5 bathrooms, gold chandeliers, and a life-size painting of Orunmila in the living room. We were there so that we could swear an oath to our madam for life, or her Sisi, as she preferred to be called. Sisi had found us at different places in our lives and had promised to change our fortune in exchange for our eternal loyalty. Our oath to swear was simple. If we broke the promised son to Sisi before the Orishas, we'd die a violent death, our bodies unrecognizable for the ones who served us. So we came to you on that chilly night, cold from the roaring storm outside. The realization of the dangerous consequences of our actions sending shivers up my spine. But I was the only one frightened. I'd come to you in the company of braver girls. In the midst of those, I was considered the least attractive because Sisi preferred our girls with a glow. As we ascended the winding stairs to where you were rounding off a call, my heart thumped, and my body shivered from trepidation. And the downpour that soaked my cheaply bought, Instagram-bought two-piece outfit, and plastered my newly chemically relaxed hair to my face. We just driven through pothole-ridden roads filled with dirty rainwater, past a huge gated estate to your home that was concealed behind an intimidating fence, away from the public's prying eyes. I'll be honest, I was expecting a small shrine tucked away in a thick forest, an old pot-bellied baba with kola nut stained teeth on a mat. What I wasn't expecting was the mansion, or you. You were a momentary distraction to my anxiety. In the midst of the darkness we'd entered, your handsomeness illuminated the shroud, and you were an instant calm to the raging storm. I wondered how you'd become a babalawo and what else you did. Did you like rice or was it beans? Did you only wear trad or did you also fancy jeans? I was curious. Your name that night was simply Sho. It was what Sisi called you when she drew closer, whispering into your ears, telling you what I assumed was a clarification of what she hoped her fate would be in your hands. Your eyes were cold and unflinching when you said to the first girl, Iwo, Telemi. Sisi told you that the girl was Ibibio, but that she spoke fluent English and Pidgin, so you'd added, follow me then. Your accent had a bit of a foreign tinge, and I remember feeling with my fingers in the guest room where I sat with the rest of the girls, thinking, did he study Babalawoism in the UK? As the thunder roared, my eyes wandered the room with white walls and heavy velvet draping, aware that this journey I'd embarked on was going to have a tragic ending. The girls and I took turns, and I came to you last, petrified and ready to bolt if things got too eerie. Even though I knew Sisi would ensure I died if I ran, I was still prepared to take my chances. In those days, I hadn't accepted my fate just yet. I was a frightened 24-year-old who had been lured from my mother's tiny house in Oyo Town by an older woman's lofty promise of a good life. I'd always shouldered responsibilities for my family now, and in our unpainted living room with worn-out chairs, I'd hoped that Sisi's stories of a better life were true, so that we could finally have a financial breakthrough. In your shrine, you were standing, waiting for me. Your hazel brown eyes were glazed over with something sinister. When your gaze found mine, and I didn't have to be convinced, that you are capable of evil. Remove your clothes, you said. Thank you.
Baba show now. Wow. Tomilola. Give it up for Tomilola Adeyemo, ladies and gentlemen. All right, I'd like to bring up to the stage Toby Abiodun.
In this poem, the words God and they are metaphors for the president, his government, politics, and every goddamn thing in between. They say a Messiah is coming after the rest of us are dead and gone. It is easy to call a body dead if you've been one before. And aren't we all dead men walking? Zombies chasing after nothing. The closest synonym to a noose around the neck is a white-collar job. Because they know that a 9 to 5 cannot fix the problems we face 24/7. The prophecy says that by one man's death, our sins will be taken away. But the reality is, our men have died in millions till we pray for forgiveness every day. The weak have always been sacrifices for the sins of the strong. Lamb as penance for sin, Old Testament. Dove as penance for sin, Old Testament. Christ as penance for sin, New Testament. Us and our children as penance for their greed, Present Testament. So here we are. Isaac's lambs led to the altar, altar blown out of church, church blown out of place. God homeless all of a sudden begs the question, where do the angels go when the tabernacle is emptied of worship? When the pews become aisles of mangled flesh and blood, and the dead become unholy things, do we find them in the smoke winded through the winds, seraphs with broken wings, lost in all the confusion that is a begging? Sometimes the strength for the finish line is drawn from looking back at the distance covered. But behind us are bones, relics from the times when freedom meant death. But now there are no more deaths to give, no more bodies to be emptied of their souls, meaning that we may never be free. The finish line is a second-hand dream, and we may never reach it in time. Our ancestors bowed before deities who took form, deities who were present in physical things. Now we pray to a God who's afraid of proximity, so who's going to listen to us? Give ears to our begging, who's going to reason with us? Touch our hands with blessings, because my people have been praying. Or is a prayer not a plea if the tongue isn't hurting? Is it less obeisance if our knees aren't bleeding? Do the angels ever listen to us? Or do they switch the channel? Leave our voices lost in the static. Is the static a metaphor for shh? God ain't listening. My father once said, in muffled breath, that a prayer is a poem, and God is the judge. Listening to the one with the most punchlines. A prayer is a poem, and God is the judge, waiting to call a story beautiful by looking at the handwriting. He asks if the heavens see our hunger, bellies empty like the tomb where Lazarus was buried. Do the clouds see our fight, all our struggles to be closer to freedom? Does God know that we built Babel so the stars will never have to look down on us? Or are we too gentle for his heaven? Are our hands too short to reach for the hem of miracle? Are we too dead for Samaritan help? Too locked out of the upper room for some holy fire? Are we too grape to be the apple of God's eyes? Will the heavens listen to our cries if we wail loud enough? Will the fires raised during protest be altars enough? Will we be Elijahs enough? If we raise a song during a riot and our bodies move to the rhythm, if the riot is an attempt to save our souls, can we call the riot a rescue party? Because I've heard that the past is a deep place. This is why people go down in history. I was raised on red soil. I know which parts of the ground saw the most bloodshed, and despite all these deaths, all these bodies breaking beneath the weight of worry, despite all our struggles to be closer to freedom, they call us lazy. See, we're never inventive, never miraculous like Jesus. So they speak about the Christ who fed 5,000, but never about the boy who made the provision. And the boy, and the boy, and the boy is us. Lambs led to the altar, altar blown out of church, church blown out of place. God, homeless all of a sudden, begs the question, where do the angels go when the tabernacle is emptied of worship? Shalom Aleichem.
Ladies and gentlemen, Toby Abiadu. Are you having a good time? Temperature check. How are we feeling? How are we I need your energy needs to be on 500, dude. Join me as I welcome Ella Forte. Make some noise.
Oh, wow. Good evening, beautiful ladies and gentlemen. Okay, I appreciate technical, rather media, but you see this echo? Please, let's just turn it down. Thank you. There are days when I am the sickness and the cure. I am the devil, but dine with God. There are days that I am sad. A deep sadness that somehow brings me joy. There are days when I am it, the nightmare on Elm Street, scaring me half to death twice. There are days when the sound of the world hurts my ears and it poisons my mind, making me lose the things that I really care about. There are these days. But then there are other days too. The days when I look at the moon and marvel at how ethereal it is. When I look at me and marvel at how beautifully amazing of a creator that I am. The days when my poetry flows steadily connected to my heart's force, my life source. The days when I meet people and I feel at peace. A connection formed without bodies but with a merging of souls. The days when I say I am happy and I genuinely mean it. The good thing is there are indeed days like this. They exist. But the bad thing is I am yet to learn to make them last. You see, all people with depression don't fit into your aesthetically pleasing little black box. They are not a vibe or a cruise you catch. They are a sinking ship, the Titanic, some holding on for dear life, some not caring about life, some standing on stage, making poetry with palm wine, helping other people get through life alive or dead. You see, this is what it feels like. To drown in the freezing pool of your own emotions with a vision of a normal life split clean in half right before your eyes. This is what it feels like. To feel like a burden on your own mind. This is what it feels like. And no, you do not get to say what you think it feels like. Likening it to a bad hair day or a rain spoiling your plants kind of day is an insult. An insult to the ones who have not seen the insides of a salon in months because their mind holds them in a loving choke grip. An insult to the ones who do not bother to make future plans because they know that they would be having a soul-crushing kind of day that future day. An insult to the ones who are just trying to get through that day one day at a time. So maybe it's time to demystify depression. Put it to plain, not poetic expressions. It is sadness. Only it is multiplied by 100 million billion. It is a mask with a perfectly placed smile to cover the cracks, the signs. Depression is not just... Depression can also look like eyes bright and smile wide. It is not just the sad stereotype. It is the friend who is always the life of the party. It's your kind mate who constantly puts your mind at ease. In truth, it is your freaking looked up to creatives and artists who have their talents spill forth from their eyes right before they step up on stage, pick up that mic, and smile. Depression wears many faces. It is a master chameleon camouflaging cuts that run much deeper than it appears on the surface. So be careful to believe what you see, because those you think are planted on earth, rock solid, could very much be lost at sea. Thank you.
Give it up for Ella! Join me as we welcome Faith Moyosore.
Hi, everyone. Wow. Okay, so because it's palm wine and poetry, I'll start with a love poem. Yes. To the dark chocolate man who makes me weak to my knees. Loving you makes me feel like royalty. Only you in this world listens to me. Like every word that comes out of my mouth is a decree. The passion burning through your bones is hotter than the 37 degrees of Lagos sun, and no sunscreen can shield me from the way you make me melt. People talk a lot about making love and how that is magic. But have you had a man make love to your mind? Every conversation about life with you brings me to a mindgasm. The way you blow my mind makes my brain quiver with rivers of ideas. I don't like school, but I'll attend 1,000,000 classes as long as you are the subject. Straight A students, but the only test I don't mind failing at is a test of the future that doesn't include you. Because life without you, my baby, is like walking into an examination hall without reading You Are My Expo for Joy. I love you, dark chocolate man, from your caramel cream baby. Okay. Wow. Okay, thank you.
I want to thank you to my man.
It seems like I have a lot of dark chocolate men here. Don't worry, we'll talk after this. My next poem is titled Jakpa. It's about the Jakpa wave. My country is forcing its people to rewrite their dreams, to fold their purpose and tuck it into traveling bags, to reduce their relationships to screens, to travel across continents wearing identities that feel alien to their beliefs. Nigeria, what are you doing to us? A girl my age looks at her parents, and her heart breaks every time she inches closer to leaving. With their wrinkled hands, they pack the deed to their house, a legacy they hoped she would inherit, and they sell it with all their memories in it, just to give her a chance at meaningful living, because my country is sometimes not a place for logical dreaming. Naija, what are you doing to us? A man craves his lover's warm touch, but all he feels is the cold screen. His relationship is straining due to distance. Fights imagined due to the frustration of being distant. Lovers who could have gone the distance break up due to the distance. Nigeria, what are you doing to us? Friendships built over decades have been watered down by the Jakpa wave. Real love, swallowed into the fans of planes and scattered across the world. Every day, someone is battling double emotions. Happy their loved ones have found their way out, but sad because their next meeting might never happen. Naija, what are you doing to us? Some of our brightest minds quit their decade-long careers to study courses, do jobs not relevant to their dreams, while working overtime to feed their families back home. homes dangling between two continents, spouses and children experiencing life in different time zones. Nigeria, what are you doing to us? October 20, we tried to shake off your grip. We tried to beg you to stop hurting us. We tried to believe that you could change, but Nigeria, trying to survive you is like wearing a life jacket while your house is on fire. A young woman takes a train because of her fear of planes crashing, but a headsman cuts the tracks of her life short. A schoolgirl goes into a church to read, and 4 men turn her into a fist. Like a con artist, my country is forever outwitting us. We scream, Jackpa, Jackpa. But how many of us can leave? Nigeria, what are you doing to us? Thank you.
Make some noise for Faith Moyosore. You can do better than that now, Haba. Is the palm wine not in the system? What's going on? Is the palm wine in the system? Some of you, you've not got, who is not drinking palm wine here? We need to sort it out. We need to sort it out. All right, ladies and gentlemen, join me as we welcome Deborah Johnson.
I'd like to not have the reverb, please. Okay. In an incomplete house in Kaduna, Nigeria, there is a child who will hear her first poem. Be sold a grand dream, watching Titilope Shonuga on stage. She will stand mouth agape thinking, someday, that will be me. My country is full of lost children looking to art to find them. Our parents were pioneers who kept drawings in their rooms, wrote books no one would ever read, and joined choirs. Using their voice for the Lord was better than not using it at all, and their world was not big enough to hold a kinder word than vagabonds when it came to artists. Every revolution had art in it. For our parents, it was stifled. With collar-necked jobs and an endless pursuit. In the Bible, Jesus says we do not light a candle and place it under a bushel. Their candles died in their throats. Art could not feed their families, so they did what could and had us and sent us to school to follow the path of a limited edition freedom, but somehow we stumbled upon it. Like walking in the dark and finding light, a child seeing a butterfly for the first time and learning that something born in dirt and ground can also touch the sky. We wrote verses in math notes, heard American poetry and saw a vision, learned to write more than what we were taught in class. Something was calling us deeper than that, and for us, 2 + 2 would not always equal 4. There would be a country in between. The numbers, a metaphor for people and for love. We would learn early how to prophesy. And they would call us mad because this world shames things they cannot understand, sends it to a cross, ask Jesus. But we were born for leaping, heavy lifting, speaking in heavenly tongues. When this poet is 16, she'll slam for the first time and lose, and learn how cruel the world of the artist is. How there are too many voices begging for visibility, and sometimes you are just one voice out of many. One child hungry for medals to prove to their parents that art is not a waste of time. When this poet is 20, she will slam again and win. And learn how sometimes things are written for you in the stars, and no artist is born an artist by mistake. When this poet is 21, she will learn that art is more than a passion, more than a dream. It is God's voice, and we amplify it. Learn about the ghosts that own the gates, telling you to be one way or the next before they pass you into glory. Learn that she was made from glory, and no box can hold this. It's too powerful to be misunderstood as mere babbling. When they ask you who arts don't help, show them the marks on my wrist and call my name. Show them the boys in Ajegunle who learned that knives are not the only ways to rip out a heart. You can sing and it will fall out. Break bones dancing. Paint a future you were told you could never have. Art, it's not just our escape. a tree house to hide in when our country, when the world comes to swallow these black-skinned children whole. It is proof that God exists. Because something this sacred has to be divine. It is our lifeline. This gift keeps on giving. Pencils creating in the hands of the creator. No artist is born an artist by mistake today. My mother heard one of my pieces. Did not ask when I would stop fooling around. Did not call my work a hobby. Remembered every dust-bunny dream she ever had. Saw that my candle was not dying in my throat. And it is not a doctor's truth. It is not a doctor's quote. It is not a doctor's quote, but it is truth. And it is purpose. And it is enough. It is enough. She clapped. Thank you.
Lady. We the best, we the best. I didn't lie. Ake only brings you the best, right? How are we feeling? Thank you. Palm wine is in the system now, Abby. Thank you. Big, give it up for Deborah Johnson again, ladies and gentlemen. All right. We have one more performer for the night. I know it's almost over. You be coming down. You will come back next year. Give it up for David Odiase.
They say a graveyard full of oxygen is how death demands breathing space. Last week, policeman told a boy freeze. He became a cold room. Where I come from, we are a quick notice away from becoming vacant bodies. My people share a boundary with the afterlife. My father says, a name is a holy thing, that if you say it long enough, your tongue could curl into a shrine. But I tell him, a name is also a prophecy. For how else can you explain why a country named after a river could watch the blood of her people flow? Asaba Massacre 1967, Bakolori Massacre 1980, Boko Haram Uprising 2009, Owo Massacre 2022. Death is not the only natural disaster here. For what does an election have in common with an earthquake? They both end in a landslide. We have been told more promises than the Holy Book, embarked on more journeys than the Israelites took. So when they promise you Christmas today, know that tomorrow, Herod will call for the slaughter of every male child. It is a taboo to dream here. How do you sleepwalk in a country where every day is a living nightmare? The quest for a white-collar job could leave you knotting a noose around your neck. Like the body language of an ex, everything is falling down the pecking order. But is this all there is to us? Scorched earth and zombie invasion. When we dig deeper beneath the earth of our fatherland, would we be able to excavate enough survival stories from their rotten teeth? September 30th, 1960, Hope Night, Independence Day Eve, USA 1994, Rashidi Yekini scores our first World Cup goal. What else is more magic? And a nation torn apart by tribes, brought together by football celebration. What else is more magic than hands that once held grief at its fingertips, snapping at a punchline I once heard? That's why hell burns for so long, is because the human spirit is indestructible. There are rainbows in our bellies yet unborn, like colors like none the world has ever seen. In 1978, my great-granduncle, Ben Odiase, composed the national anthem. He once told me, a funeral dirge is just a few lyrics short of a victory song. And every day since, I have lived my life like the missing words. Poem.
Make some noise. I mean, Lola, I was going to wrap up with something very quickly. Oh, please, thank you.
Wahala. So, I've thanked everybody that has stood on this stage. But the last and all that's left now is for me to thank those of you on the other side. Because without you, I feel like I'm reading a poem.
Are you not a poet? Are you not a poet?
The spirits just entered.
Please.
So, I really, really, really want to thank every one of you who bought a ticket, who won a ticket, and who came to each or any of these events. Because, and I keep saying this, we could sit here performing, but without an audience, Ake Festival just isn't Ake Festival. So this time, I want everyone else, all the people that we have clapped for, are now going to join me in clapping for everyone that is here who has attended these events. Please clap for them. So, thank you. I'll hand the mic back to Wana.
Somebody has lost or left their book. If your name is Wana, please. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you all for an incredible Ake 2023. Make some noise. And calm down. Mr. Shewoyubu, you are very gingered. You are ready to dance. I know. I know you're ready to party, but I just thought, the final poem, it is poetry and palm wine after all, right? You are the unanswered dream you have been waiting for. You are the rebirth to your shrunken spirit. You are liquid gold and fairy dust. You are DNA, a tapestry of miracle, myth, and magic. You are punching between ideas and dreams. You are connecting galaxies. You are multitasking. You are the inheritance of greatness. You are the blessing of your mother's tongue. You carry the universe in the chamber of your chest. You are made to walk on water. So if they ever tell you that this revolution will not be televised, tell them that you stood at the foot of your ancestors calling your bodies back from the dead. Tell them that you are your grandmother's buried bones. Tell them that you have a knot at the silence binding your throats. Tell them that you are writing your memoirs in real time. Tell them that you are writing your memoirs in real time. And so if they ever tell you that this revolution will not be televised, Ake, tell them what? That you are the revolution. Thank you.